But you know what also broke my heart? In the last months of her life, she wasn't just thinking about trying to get well, she was spending time reading insurance forms because she had just gotten a new job and the insurance companies were saying maybe there's a pre-existing condition and we don't have to pay your medical bills. So I know what it's like to see a loved one suffer, not just because they're sick, but because of a broken healthcare system. And it's wrong.
He's a lot like his mom. His girls are the only thing that can break him down. He tries to make it a point to have the thing that he does with each of them. And for Malia, it was reading through every single Harry Potter book, and they got through all of them. And that is just so fun to watch, and it's amazing that he doesn't forget anything. And he calls them every night, and he talks for as long as they need to talk. He just always has time for them.
It is that fundamental belief, I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that makes this country work.
Starting at that speech at the Democratic Convention in Boston and ever since, people have noticed that there's a quality in Barack Obama they just don't see in other candidates.
There is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America.
Here's a person who, as a state legislator, was a clear leader in Springfield on so many important issues that really made a difference. Came to Washington, had an impact as soon as he arrived.
He's changed the rules in Washington. Gone are the free gifts from lobbyists, gone are the fancy airplane rides for nothing. He did that. Now, it wasn't easy. He had to work across party lines. More importantly, he had to fight senior members of the Senate who liked it just fine the way it was.
He came in, not only reached out, but reached across the aisle to Dick Lugar, one of the leading guys in America for the past 20 years on arms control, to keep loose nukes out of the hands of terrorists. I was amazed. I watched him incisively question the Secretary of State in the nomination process. I remember literally turning to Chris Dodd saying, whoa, this guy's good.
Joe Biden, I think, is one of the finest public servants in this country. It's not just that he has some of the best foreign policy credentials of anybody, but it's also that his entire life, he has never forgotten where he came from. Coming from Scranton, fighting on behalf of working families, remembering what it's like to see his father lose his job and go through a downward spiral economically. He shares my core values and my sense of where the country needs to go.
Thanks for the moon and the stars up above, but most of all, thanks for the family I love. Look, that little girl's a ballerina. That's what you want to do, ain't it? I work for Ford Motor Company at the Kentucky truck plant. I'm a third-generation Ford employee.
When manufacturing spread to towns across America, it brought jobs and a way of life. Working-class families could buy their first home and a piece of the American dream. Mark Dowell and his wife Melinda have worked at the local plant for most of their adult lives. Recently, the plant cut back Mark's work to every other week. Now they're struggling to make ends meet.
2409.
His grandfather Harold and father Carl each worked over 30 years and received full retirement benefits.
It was a lot better time back then. People felt like they had security in their jobs.
In July, Melinda was laid off after 8 years on the job.
From the day I was born, I've been tied to Ford. So this is all I know is Jay in. Hey Jay, this is Mark Dowd calling from the union. How are you? If a plant shut down here in Louisville, it would just be devastating. People would lose their homes. Restaurants and retail stores would lose business because people wouldn't have the money to shop. Thanks for your support. All right, bye-bye. I feel like we're all in the same boat. We all got to pull together, and if we don't, we're going to lose America as we once known it.
As challenging as these times are, we've seen harder times before. My grandfather fought in Patton's army in Europe. My grandmother stayed home working on a bomber assembly line, even though she had a kid to look after. Not only did they defeat fascism, but they lifted themselves up out of a Great Depression. That was their generation's moment. And this is our moment.
I learned at an early age from my grandparents how vital it is to defend liberty. And as Commander-in-Chief, I will never hesitate to protect our country. As President, I'll rebuild our military to meet 21st century challenges. I'll renew the tough, direct diplomacy that can prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons and curb Russian aggression. And I'll refocus our efforts on finishing the fight against Al-Qaeda and the Taliban in Afghanistan. But I'll also never forget that when I send our armed forces into battle, I'm sending sons and daughters and fathers and mothers. I still remember a woman I met in Iowa. Her son had shipped out to Iraq 2 weeks earlier. And I had a close friend who was on his way too.
All right, I'll be praying for you.
Thank you very much.
All right? Okay. Appreciate you. Thank you. As a retired general officer from the U.S. Army, it makes a difference to me how a potential commander-in-chief thinks about war and peace. That's what we're looking for in a president. Somebody that understands the stakes and has the courage and the judgment to approach them rationally and with a sense of duty to the Constitution and the people of the United States. And that's why I think he's going to be a great president.
Everybody here has got a story. Somewhere you've got parents who said, you know what, maybe I won't go to college, but I know if I work hard, my child will go to college. Everybody here has got a story of somebody who came from another country. They said maybe my grandchild or my great-grandchild, they'll have opportunity, they'll have freedom. Everybody here has got a story about a grandparent or great-grandparent who worked in a coal mine, who worked in a tough factory, maybe got injured somewhere, but they said, you know what, I may not have a home, but if I work hard enough, someday my child, my grandchild, they'll have a home they can call their own. That's the story of America.
This guy is special because I think he can bring people together, because he's a good, decent man that understands the world through his background, that he's a man that can heal this country, that can bring bipartisanship, that there's very unusual, good, positive sides to this man that we need at this juncture in our history.
I'm reminded every single day that I am not a perfect man. I will not be a perfect president. But I can promise you this. I will always tell you what I think and where I stand. I will always be honest with you about the challenges we face. I will listen to you when we disagree. And most importantly, I will open the doors of government and ask you to be involved in your own democracy again.